Good morning. It's 9 a.m. on Monday, April 8th, 2024. And a few things lined up. I've got audio confirmation and I will unmute, what do you call it? Application audio or something like that. What do they call it in OBS? Whatever. So that SpeakerBot can be heard. And today's a very unusual day. Yeah, there's an eclipse today, but it's different. This eclipse is different than we've ever had before, according to the stunning information and revelation provided by Ken Stout this morning.
Hello, Doug.
Hello there, John. Ken Stout announces, due to the confusion of the day being Monday and the planned covering of the moon by the sun, I am unable to attend today's Live Windows Training-DougBetts. Let's turn off those repeating messages there. And yes, it will work today, if you're wondering. On a positive note, I'll be using RGB golf balls while playing golf. So what's different about the eclipse today? Usually, it's that the moon, a solar eclipse would be the moon passing between Earth and the sun. So the eclipse is the sun. But today, it's opposite. The sun is going to pass between the Earth and the moon so that the sun blocks out our view of the moon, according to Ken Stout. Thank you, Ken. I did not know that. Yeah. John Williams, cool trader. Thanks, Doug, for sharing. Now, you know Ken's going to claim that he didn't make a mistake. He was just going to check to see who would catch it. Every time Ken Stout says something wrong, it's not that he made a mistake. It's that he's testing to see if anybody catches it. There you go. He got that idea from me, by the way. That's every mistake I make. That's what I'm doing. I'm just seeing if somebody will catch it. Total eclipse of Ken Stout. Alice, hello. Rick Lakes. Who else we got showing here? Zvi Menor's here. Selden Ball. John Williams. Rand Israel. Nova. Keith. Greg M. There's an eclipse? Wow, never would have known. 2 hours from now. 2 hours and about 8 minutes from now is approximately, depending upon where you're at. Greg, I never would have known. Hello, everybody. From Mike, Rand Israel, did the vanishing Doug. Where'd he go? Where'd he go? You could do that anytime. That's not going to bother me because it doesn't stick in my, doesn't talk in my ear. Now my week can begin. Nova Dog, how do you make yourself disappear like that? Doug was eclipsed by YouTube. Everyone up. Gertrude and Eclipse. Yeah, Sam was demonstrating vanishing on the Ken Stout show last night. However, he was using a virtual background. I'm not using a virtual background. This is no virtual background. Doesn't matter where I'm standing. You can do it now. Hint, hint. This is not a virtual background. Okay, so now I want to see if the Ken Stout crew can figure that out. How does he do that? Rand Israel says, do it, do it. All right, now I'm going to move on to topics. Which way to start? Well, let's go straight to Carrie Holzman's comment from Saturday because that's a topic that might get some interest through the rest of the show. Regarding the topic I brought up on Saturday, and I didn't go into any detail about it, and I told you that I hadn't researched it or checked into why, but I told you that my client's Yahoo email account, I couldn't turn on two-factor authentication. And Carrie gave the instructions for a normal Yahoo account. And that does not work in this case, and I'll show you why. And this is absolutely the right way to do it for a Yahoo email account. And I went, after the show Saturday, I went and checked on my own Yahoo account, because I do have a Yahoo account. And it my two-factor authentication was working just fine. Keith, I see you did an !V, and you have to do that at the beginning. Oh, he was actually telling me to do something. Hold something in your hand and then do the V. All right, I can do that. Let's, here. All right, here, I'm holding something in my hand, so go ahead. Somebody, anybody. There it is. So he wanted to do that. Oops, what happened to the box? All right. Yeah, these are the correct instructions for a Yahoo account. Go to account, account info, security, the link that says turn on 2SV, sign into your account, and again, as directed. Okay, so I'm going to show you why that doesn't work. Let's see, Sam has a response. I've done that for a few clients. Yeah, it does work, but it doesn't work in this case. I'll show you why. And I did not tell you this. I didn't even recollect this on Saturday. Recollect is a fancy word for saying I didn't remember it, Ken, if you were wondering what that meant. Doug, you're so mean. All right, so here I'm going to play a video here. Now, this first part of the video is the instructions about 2FA on a Yahoo account.
Account icon, then click on the account info link. This will open up a new tab. Click on Account Security on the left-hand column. Move the toggle for two-step verification to the on position. You're prompted to enter a mobile number.
Okay, so now here's trying to do it with my client's account. My client is an sbcglobal.net email address. That's what makes the difference. When we try to sign into that, it redirects to an AT&T.com URL you can see in the upper left corner. SBC Global was absorbed by AT&T. AT&T email services was absorbed by Yahoo, but the AT&T side, which is what we're signing into here, I'm saying that they stopped development before 2FA became a thing. So here I'm going through the screens in the AT&T account for my client. I blurred out his identity. You see my email address in there because I am a recovery email address for my client. But I go through all the pages here. There is no place to turn on 2FA or 2SV. That wording was whatever it was. So I'll go through all the pages here in a little bit here. Here I'm doing a search for two-factor authentication in the help system on the AT&T.com email system to see what does their help system say about it. Now, I'm not playing back, delving into all of these, but the one that seems most likely, I think was on the top. AT&T.com does not have 2FA. Not there. They do have some other ways to get around it. Now, it's not the secure mail key, and it's not the other one that shows up here, but really the most significant thing, I think, is to change your account, your user account ID. You don't have to use your email address to sign in, but still there is no 2FA. This OAuth technology is not quite that. This is about using a key if you're using an email client that is a legacy client that doesn't have the capability of doing the 2FA. There's secure mail key notes. So I went through all this and I didn't find anything that is comparable to 2FA. Then here I'm looking for, somebody had asked in the chat room about checking for forwarding. Well, that's something also that is not here. Now, this is the yahoo.com, and I did not even find a way within yahoo.com to do a forwarding. And I come up to a thing here. Now, I'm not totally convinced that I've gone through this far enough, but I go into the help system asking for how to do forwarding. Here we go, searching for forwarding in yahoo.com. And I've come across these kind of things before that with another client who also had an SBC Global account. Now, what this says in here, and you can pause it and read through it more, this is go to an external email account website and sign in. This is how to forward from some other email account to your Yahoo account. There's nothing in here about forwarding from your Yahoo account to some other account. So if you want to look through that more, you can come back and pause the video and read through those, and you can send back questions. But I think I'm correct in what I'm saying here. There is no 2FA if you're on a legacy SBC Global or AT&T.com email account. Yeah, let's get this set back up where I want to be. And thank you, Carrie, for chiming in with that, because nobody else did. Yeah, no one else did. You were the only one that brought in those instructions. I'm kind of surprised about that. Sam said he has done it with a few clients. Now, let's go to some other comments here. John Williams says, thanks for sharing, Doug. I hope you were able to help all your clients that were calling during the live stream this morning. Have a great Friday and weekend. So he was talking about the Thursday show where I had 3 clients called while I was doing the show, and I had to ignore each of those calls. So I thought I'd tell you what those calls were. I'm bringing up my timesheet. I don't have this set up with blurs so to actually show you the timesheet, but I'm going back to see what those calls were. One of them was regarding, I have a client who I have a Microsoft Access database system for them. It's multi-user throughout the office. And he was having problem getting into the program on his computer. It was giving him a message that it was locked out. So nobody could get into Access. So after Thursday's show was over, I logged into the server to find out who has that file locked. It turned out to be the front desk receptionist. So we had her sign out of or exit from the Access program. Then the others were able to get in. It was a little bit of a fluke that her having the program open caused the others to not be able to get into it, because she doesn't even have modification rights. She can't make changes to the data that's in that Microsoft Access database. So that's a little fluke. I don't know why that happened. She exited. Everyone else was able to get back in, and the system was working fine. The second call was a client who wanted to talk about they recently hired a new employee, and when I tried to reconfigure the copy machine remotely so that that new employee could have a scan button on the copy machine to send scans to his own folder, I found that I was unable to do that because when I connected remote to one of their computers and then use a web browser to connect to Top Access, which is the programming interface for the copy machine, there were no buttons to configure. It just wasn't there. So I said, did you get a new copy machine since the last time I made a change? Turned out they did. And it was around the date of where I saw the scans coming into their generic scan folder. And I said, are you sure? Have you gone over the copy machine yourself and found the buttons there to choose a scan job for a particular user? And he says, yes. So I wound up going over to that office later that day and doing the programming on the interface on the copy machine itself, on its own buttons. I still need to get back to the Top Access and see where it's at, because actually when that new copy machine came in, they set up the buttons in a different place. It's a different strategy. It's not the registration path through Top Access. So I got to figure out how that works. But anyway, that's what that call was about. The third one that came in was a client who has a new employee coming in that would be starting on Monday, and she wanted to have that employee in a office that had actually been kind of orphaned. Nobody was using it, and it had become a collection room of miscellaneous equipment. And I think I talked about that a little bit on Saturday from a different perspective. Oh yeah, that's right. I had the 2 computers here on Saturday. They were from that office. So that just, the only reason why I think it's significant to go talk about that kind of thing, because if you're not doing this work that I'm doing, I refer to myself as an independent general practice computer consultant. General practice meaning whatever they need technology-wise, I will take care of it. I deal with their copy machines, I deal with their phones, I deal with their printers, I deal with their computers, I'll even deal with Macs, wide variety of things. Anyway, if you're not actually in this business, you might be wondering, what are the support calls that you're getting? What are they like? I think those are things that you might not have imagined. So then I'm going to close that down and get back to channel comments. Okay, so John Williams, I'm going to give a thumbs up and a heart. Don't need to send him a link. Let's see, on Carrie Holzman's, I'll give a thumb up and a heart. Don't need to send him a link. Sam Lazar, thanks for being so helpful. This is regarding Saturday when we were talking about his Lenovo. He says, I think the Lenovo OEM Windows 10 image, then upgraded to 11, would be better than the direct Windows 11 ISO. And what he did during the show, as I understood, he actually did install from a fresh Windows 11 image and then installed all the drivers for the Lenovo, and that made the trackpad fully functional, where he could use the right and left click, he could move the mouse around, and gestures work. That was the trouble that he was having that we talked about on Saturday. So I don't know if he actually went back and tried this again. I think that is the method that he did a Lenovo OEM Windows 10 and then upgraded to 11, and it did not work for him, if I understand correctly how that sequence went. Sin Vicious. I had to read this a second time, Sin, before I got it. The first time I read it, I was scratching my head, what is that? And then some hours later, I came back and I go, oh, I get it. He says, so I liked watching today, that was Saturday. Then you asked Bet to turn off her camera. And I asked her to turn off her camera because we were having some audio troubles where her audio, we couldn't hear her very clearly. So we thought, well, maybe if we turn off her camera, then her Wi-Fi wouldn't be quite so strained and we'd be able to hear her better. So she turned off her camera, and I see Bet More in the middle of her screen, because when she turned her camera off, then we saw on Zoom in her frame, it just said her name, Bet More, in the middle of my screen.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Oh, I wasn't talking to you, cell phone. Somewhere along there, I must have said something that sounded like her name, my cell phone's wake-up word. So Bet More in the middle of my screen. My next thought, Powerball 1B. I guess the 1B threw me because I didn't know what, I guess that's a thing in Powerball. Zoom in a little bit more. Smelled like subliminal advertising. So it's like seeing Bet More. It was, go place a bet. Go do it. Go do it. Powerball. My next thought was DougBetts more. Now I have to run to the store. Thanks, Master Doug. And he's got to go buy some lottery tickets. And then here's Alice saying, thank you for mentioning the Windows 11 topic, where she inquired about forcing Windows 11 onto her Lenovo all-in-one computer. So we had some conversation about that. You're certainly welcome, Alice. All right, now, where am I going to go next? I have some comments that I captured from Saturday's chat. Greg M. said, just for your information, Dlink has a NAS security issue. And let's see, I opened that up earlier, but I guess I don't have that open anymore. So I'll go to that site mainly because there's a comment I wanted to make about this. This was a NAS that is long out of support, no longer has updates available from the manufacturer. And they point out down here somewhere how many computers have this old NAS exposed on the internet, 92,000 vulnerable Dlink Nas devices. I think it's probably the case that these are mostly like home users that want to be able to access their movies that are stored on remote devices. I think it's highly unlikely that businesses that have data that they're concerned about would be using a no longer supported device. But this is a place where we want to point out the importance. If you care about the security of your data, of what you have stored on your NAS, then or any other device, you need to be with current equipment that's supported and getting updates, and that you're being responsible with it. Now, the fact that there's equipment out there that's no longer supported and that is vulnerable, and these net security, well, NetSecFish is the one that they did this scan to find how many devices are out there. They are likely devices that are not of security concerns to the owners. However, that being said, some of these security vulnerabilities on these devices might be able to be utilized to move laterally into other devices on the network. So they might be exposing the owners of those devices to more vulnerability than they realize. So thank you for that, Greg. John Williams, unfortunately, there are many computer shops that are forcing Windows 11 on unsupported hardware. When I call them out, they ignore my comments. Wait till Microsoft slams the door. I'm going to mitigate that a little bit. I can kind of argue both sides of this. If the computer shop is forcing Windows 11 onto computers that are unsupported hardware, and they are fully explaining to the consumer the risks of this, and they're just helping the consumer save money for now, maybe that's okay. And they should be telling them that down the road, at some point, it might no longer work. There's been comments brought to our attention in the chat room. I don't remember who originally brought it up, but that in the 24H2 of Windows 11, there's some processor commands that, I'm not using the right word for that, but that is going to cause the unsupported equipment to no longer work. So there may come a point where the computers that have Windows 11 forced onto them will no longer work. They will be on a version of Windows 11 that falls out of support, because you've got to get the H1 and H2 updates to stay in support. 23H2,
no more support
H1
from the OEM.
Is eventually going to go out. It's going to go
Time
out of
to get
support.
with the program and move on. That applies to NAS as well as PCs and laptops.
That's Jim just coming in with saying, hey, just stop trying to make the old equipment work. Now, if these shops are helping people by forcing Windows 11 onto computers that might not work down the road, when that time comes, those people need to be informed that you may have to buy a more current computer. At that time, they could buy a used computer, a refurbished computer that is not brand new, but still save money and be able to limp along. There are ways to save money, and I understand people needing and wanting to save money. The people that are in the tech world that just think people should just spend for the most current equipment, they're a little bit out of touch with the reality of somebody who just doesn't have sufficient money on hand. Yes, they could do it, but it means sacrificing other things. So I stand a little bit on the side of defending people who need to save money. I've been there, I've done that. Now, let's move on. So when you call them out, I don't know how you're going about saying that to them, but they just may not feel need to defend themselves, and they may just be totally irresponsible in the way they handle that with their clients. They may not be giving them any cautionary advice. Greg M, backup drivers in Windows use DSA. Yeah, I totally spaced out. I said I don't think it's the WMIC, and of course it's not. It's DISM. When I did this for a computer that I needed a storage driver in order to install Windows, that was kind of cumbersome, because when you're going through a Windows install and you make the selection to add drivers, it won't go through all the subfolders. So you have to point it to the correct folder that was created by the DISM export. Now, there's ways to get to do that better, but in the case that I was working on, I didn't realize that I needed a storage driver in order to do a fresh install. So I tried doing it with the DISM, and that was difficult. If you have Windows up and running and you're in Device Manager and you want to update driver and point to the folder, it'll look through all the subfolders, but not when you're doing a Windows install. K. Cordius, hey Doug, why not try Zoom remote control to assist with setting up software? I usually do this sometime to help users connect. There were a few directions that I could have gone on Saturday with Bet. I chose not to go down that road because I sensed she was feeling a little bit overwhelmed with the people that were in Zoom and in the chat room. Bet very quickly and easily admits that she's working on these tech stuff and in Zoom at all is new to her and a bit confusing. She couldn't really find where to mute her microphone, unmute, and turn off her camera and turn on. And Bet, you're totally welcome here if you're listening to this. That should not be a reason for anyone to stay away. But just understand that even talking through her dealing with Zoom remote control, I just didn't want to go down that route, particularly since I'm not experienced in it. I have not ever tried it. So that's why I did not go down that road. You could always try Xero. This is a alternative bookkeeping program to a topic that I was talking about on Saturday. And then Greg M gives a download for QuickBooks 2024. What we have done since then, let's see, I didn't prepare this link, is I went to find what is the most recent version of QuickBooks that is a one-time purchase when not a subscription. So I found that, and my client has purchased it. Let's get to where, and it's the 2021 version is what it is. Well, let's go over here, and I found that available from this site, accountingscarts.com, and here we see subscription. Oh, non-subscription. Yeah, here, see, this one says non-subscription. And I don't even, well, let's see, that's interesting. There's a 2023 and then there's a 2021. Oh, that's a non-subscription. That's Accountant's Edition. We don't want Accountant's Edition. We don't want Premier. We want Pro. So it's $319.99 on sale from $600 for a one-time purchase. So that's what we're doing to accomplish that. I think I reported this to you on Saturday. I don't remember. I was able to use one of my clients' computers that has the 2016 version of QuickBooks, so I was able to upgrade it, my client's company file, to the 2016 version after getting the QBW files on CD from my client CPA. So I've got it at the 2016 level now. And this is kind of weird. I had a phone call. I'm not certain if it's from QuickBooks or if it's from this Accounting's Carts, but they read me the product number, and they call it two things, serial number and product number. I think that's what it is. they read that to me and I typed it down instead of them emailing it. And then they said once I install the program, I have to restart the computer. And then when I go launch it, it's going to want me to enter an activation code. And I have to call them to get the activation code. That doesn't come through electronically. I haven't seen any software manufacturers do a phone call for an activation code. And I'm suspecting it's because the QuickBooks one-time purchase version has a long history of being abused, where you buy it once and
read chat, please.
Install it on multiple computers. All right, I'm coming to chat. John Williams asked me to read chat. I call them out through their postings and I get it, they ignore me. Yeah, all right. Let that go. You don't know how they're talking to their customers. So if they know that they are being responsible to their customers, they're not going to bother arguing it with you over there on whatever social media you're posting that.
Read chat, please.
And Zavi is asking to read chat. I'm assuming that is from Zavi. Oh, here. You wanted to set forward from Yahoo to what kind of mail? Gmail can check and take mail from other providers. Yes, you could. We could go into Outlook and put in the credentials for the Yahoo account. I don't want to set the forward. The only reason why I was bringing up that subject is because of a chat room comment in regards to the client who was, I'm going back here to look at this. Yeah, from Greg M. He said, I assume you checked that Yahoo is not forwarding to another email account. That was because that client who called me and said that he had entered his credentials on that link for the party invitation that came from a friend of his. When he clicked on that link, it asked him to enter his email address and his email password. And he did that, which means he gave out his email credentials. After I talked about recovering from that and resetting his password, Greg M was saying, did you check to see that Yahoo's not forwarding the email? Because if the criminals got into his email account, they could configure a forwarding so that all the emails that my client receives in the future are forwarded to them even after he changes his email password. So it's not that I'm trying to find a way to get email to another account, which is what Zvi is referring to here. It's that I wanted to see if the criminals had set up a forwarding to another location. Yeah, that would be, and that's a way that I have done with another client who has sbcglobal.net, is we went to his current email account and just put in the credentials so that it could receive email directly from the sbcglobal.net account without it actually being forwarded. So that's that explanation. Londog saying, Greg M, I didn't think of that. Put in some kind of forwarding. Yep, that's one of the routine things that should be checked anytime the criminal community may have had correct credentials for any period of time. Now, the thing you can't do that with the SBC Global account that's run by Yahoo, but I've checked on that with some other clients in the past, and as long as they have informed me about the problem reasonably soon after the potential information was given out, if it's done through a phishing site like that, there's not a hacker sitting there waiting to see that come up on the screen and then go do it. Those phishing emails, they accumulate a bunch and then they sell that to somebody who will try to access those accounts. So there's always going to be a lapse of time before credentials that are received through a phishing campaign actually are attempted to be used by the criminals. Unless they're doing a direct phishing attempt trying to hack a particular individual. But on these mass distributed phishing emails, it doesn't happen real fast. And it's probably not going to happen by the person who ran the phishing campaign. They're probably working in the black market on the specialty of acquiring credentials, and then they sell a whole package of credentials to other people on the dark web. Oh, 9:35. Do I have anybody to... no, Ken Stout's going to be out golfing. Carrie Holzman has a members show today, so I don't have anybody to redirect to. Let's take a look at recent chat messages, just see if something jumped. Well, look at the things that hit me in orange. Yeah, saw that. When they're posting their ads on Craigslist or Marketplace, it is not stated in the posting of the PC for sale that they are not disclosing that they are Windows 11 computers, that they are not Windows 11 qualified computers. Yeah, okay, that's a good point. Now there are, if you're going to buy a computer from Craigslist or Marketplace, that's a buyer beware thing. That's a sketchy way to buy a computer. Somebody who's buying there to buy a cheap computer, and that's a buyer beware environment. Now these mini PCs, you know what I'm talking about. Oh yeah, like these beings. They're so cheap. I don't know what they could be. What price are they looking at on Craigslist or Marketplace? Are they getting these Windows 11 computers on unsupported hardware cheaper than they could be buying a legitimate brand new computer that is Windows 11 qualified? I mean, you could put up your own posting on Craigslist and Marketplace selling these brand new computers to people that don't know what to go look for on Amazon.
No.
John says no to what? To what? Let's see, this is John Williams. What is saying? I'm trying to figure out what no you're saying. What comment I made that you're saying no to. I don't quite get that. Yeah, you'll need to clarify that.
Win 11 compliant.
No to Win 11 compliant, meaning the computers they're selling are not Win 11 compliant. Yeah, that's what I understood you to be saying, is that the computers that they're on Craigslist and Marketplace, it's not stated in the posting of the PC for sale that they are not disclosed. Okay, well, all right. I know you wrote this without thinking it through, but there's a double negative there that makes it confusing, because they did not state that they are not disclosing. So if they would put a message there announcing that they are not disclosing that these computers are not Windows 11 compliant, I understand what you mean, John. What have we got down here at the bottom? When 24H2 is released, we'll see what happens. 23H2 works fine. Yeah, it's 24H2 in preview right now, that apparently there's something in the instruction set that it might not work with unsupported hardware, or with some unsupported hardware. But until it's actually released to public, you can't count on what's in 24H2 preview, that will still be there. But that doesn't change the fact that you just don't know what's going to happen down the road. Now, if somebody does force Windows 11, they should be doing it with the mindset. They should be advised, do this with the mindset that you may wind up having to buy supported hardware down the road because it might not continue working through subsequent, what do we call those? Feature updates? Is it reasonable to call those? Are we still using that? Calling those feature updates, semi-annual updates, whatever. All right, I'm going to shut down. We've gone long enough here. There's the email address if you want to send a question that I'll respond to during a live stream. I didn't quite get to everything that I wanted to, but oh well, that happens. Have a great day, everybody. Have a great week. And 2 hours from now, solar eclipse of the moon. The sun's going to pass in front of the moon. Eclipse the moon. You heard it here from Ken Stout.